This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all.
So welcome back to another episode of Rostra, and this is another one of these episodes where we've got two guests. We've obviously mostly had single guests on the show, but today we've got two guests. We've got Elle, Bennett and Gigi Moringiello. And, I'm going to ask you a different question. I always ask the same question at the beginning. I'm going to ask this question. Why did you want to work together? Why did you want to be together on this podcast rather than doing something You know what? That's what happens when you record during school. Sometimes we have that bell. So why did you want to do it together rather than go separately?
Well, we thought it would be more fun to do it together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just more fun, right? The more the merrier. Okay. So I'm excited about your topic because you're going to delve into something that on the surface, I think some people may think they know some stuff about, but I think there's a lot more there that people don't know. So what is your topic and why did you choose it? Start off with that.
Our topic is mythological groups, which are the Fates, Furies, Centaurs, Satyrs, Muses, and Nymphs. And we picked this topic because we were interested in the mythology of it, and we knew that it could lead into something else, something that we didn't know.
Okay, well, we could just take off and have a whole different kind of podcast here because the idea of students looking at something and saying, hey, I want to explore something because it might lead me to something I don't know, as a chance to learn something new. That's every teacher's dream, right? We'd love to hear that. So many people think they know stuff about Greek and Roman mythology. They've heard stuff. They've heard about monsters and gods and half gods, half people, that kind of stuff. But the idea that there are groups of these creatures, that they fall into categories, I think some people may not know about that. So I think this is going to be an interesting topic. So you rattled off several there. Why don't you two just kind of work your way through and tell us, give us a group and then tell us about that group.
So the Fates, they determine human destinies, and then there were three of them: Clotho,
Lachesis,
and
Atropos. There you go.
And each one of them did something different. And then the Roman names were Nona, Decuma, and Morta. So Clotho spun a thread, and that would start someone's destiny. Lachesis dispensed it, and Atroposis cut the thread to end someone's life.
So the idea of the fates, and we still use that term today, right? Someone was fated to play in the NFL or whatever. Because of that group, there were these three women that supposedly, spun the thread of your life, exactly what you said, wove it out there, and then cut it off. Interesting. The Greeks and the Romans they never really defined all this, but if everything is fated, then do human beings have free will?
They do have free will, but the Fates know what their decisions will
But
be.
the Fates know right. So it leads to some interesting conversations, and again, if I know that you are about to drop your cup on the floor, then do you really have a choice but to drop your cup on the floor? So there's some interesting questions that come out of that. Some of that was not really resolved in the ancient mythology, but a group of fates is a good one there. All right, what else do we have?
And then there are Furies. They're also known as Enrines.
The Furies? Okay. And Erinyes. Erinyes, yep.
And then these are the Roman goddesses of vengeance, and they live in the underworld, torturing sinners by driving them mad.
Yeah.
Three sisters born of Gaia and Uranus.
Oh, Gaia. Yeah, Gaia. Yes, I wasn't sure where you were going with that sentence. Yes, Gaia. Yep.
These sinners punished people for their crimes, and then one sister would represent one punishment that they did.
So the thing about the Furies, they did exactly what you said, punish sinners. They originally, though, were specifically about punishing crimes against women. But a lot of times people think, women didn't have any, rights and things in the ancient world and so forth. And in some cultures that was true, more so, less so, different kinds of things in terms of legal and so forth. But even back then, there was a notion, well, if we're not going to have laws to protect women, then there's got to be something in the divine world, right? And so there's got to be a special group of, in this case, these female deities who punished crimes against women. So very important group there. Okay, so we got the Fates and the Furies. We got 2 F groups there, Fates and Furies. What else do we have?
Centaurs, and these are like half horse people. They have a weird story behind them. So Ixen, the king of Lapis, tried to seduce Hera, Zeus's wife, which is probably not the best idea.
Not a good call. No.
Zeus made a cloud whose name was Nephil. To take Hera's form. So Zeus's plan was to expose Ixen because he's trying to get his girl. Ixen falls for it, mates with the cloud, and then born is Centaurus, who ends up mating with a horse.
I would not try to figure out the genetic code of any of that mess over in your biology class. It's just a pure mess. The centaurs, the half-human, half-horse creatures. And again, if you've seen the Percy Jackson stuff, or you get the centaurs are in there. I got to be honest, I've always had a guess as to where the centaurs came from. If you are somebody who was not from a horse culture, and suddenly you encountered another group of people who rode horses, particularly say for battle, and you've never seen this before, I could easily imagine somebody thinking, what is this new creature I see? It seems to be a man at the top, but there seems to be a beast at the bottom. And you would think maybe that was one. I don't know that to be true, but I've always wondered about that because it seems like something that I can see where that could come from. So centaurs are the half man, half horse. So we want to keep that one straight because there's some other half human, half animal groups and things out there. So what else do we have?
The next one is the satyrs.
And we're going to call them satyrs.
Oh.
Satyrs, right. And so I thought you had said that in the early part. So who are the satyrs?
They're a male nature spirit with ears and a tail that resemble a horse, but they also have goat legs, which could make it harder to walk around.
Well, yeah. And basically you think centaur, half human, half horse. Real just short way of thinking about it, satyrs, half human, half goat. And yes, so walking around on goat legs. I don't know that I've got a good explanation for that one. Unless somebody's going around riding goats or something. I don't know. Did you find anything else about the satyrs?
A female satyr is called a satyrs. But females are more modern in the Roman culture and not in the Greek culture. Yeah.
And I will tell you, the satyrs were known for kind of bad behavior. The satyrs tended to how should we put this? They tended to party hard, shall we say. They tended to get inebriated and cause all kinds of trouble. So some of the satyrs could behave badly. All right. So we got fates, we got furies, we got centaurs, we got satyrs. I'm thinking maybe you had mentioned another one or two. I can't remember now. Back to the beginning.
The muses.
The muses, sure.
They're goddesses of literature, science, and the arts. They're the sisters and daughters of Zeus and Messamine, the goddess of memory.
Yeah, Mnemosyne. It's a weird, kind of sounding word to us in English. Comes from Greek Mnemosyne. And so you say they're the goddesses of literature and what else?
Science and the arts.
Science and the arts. So have you ever been to a museum?
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to music?
Yeah.
These are words that are coming from the muses and you go, well, what in the world has that got to do with science? In the ancient world, philosophy really took in all of that stuff. So science, math, music, history, literature, all that kind of fell under one heading of philosophy. And so you got this one group of goddesses that really inspired all of that. Now, the science part of the school is in a totally different part from the music part and a totally different part from the literature part and so forth. But all that was originally kind of together there. And so anybody who tried to create anything, right, they would need the inspiration of the muses. Now, you may have them all there. I don't know. Do you have any of the muses and what specifically they were in charge of?
They were 9 muses.
There were 9 of them, yeah.
And they all have a specific part to play.
Exactly. So each one had his or her, well, actually not his or her own area because they were all goddesses. Each one had her own area, exactly. And so if you were going to say, work in music, you would pray to this particular muse. Or you're going to work in history, you would invoke this other muse. So yeah, very good. Okay, what else in terms of groups?
The last one is the nymphs.
The nymphs, yes. Again, another little bit hard word to say, at least for me in English. N-Y-M-P-H, nymph. So who are the nymphs?
They're female spirits of nature that help grow trees and other plants.
Definitely think of nature when you think about the nymphs. And if you go into other stories, sometimes you get them called fairies. Especially as you get into like some English literature and so forth. Sprites, little woodland spirits. You'll have nymphs often of water, nymphs of woods. So definitely associating them. Female. And there's always a sense of them being kind of gentle and sweet and kind of light and so forth. Not like these big, heavy, kind of Olympian gods or something like this. So, okay, so you started off with, as I said, this thing that would be the most interesting to teachers is that you wanted to look at some of this kind of with the hope of discovering something that you didn't know before and actually learning something new. First of all, did that happen? And if so, what was it? What did you find that you didn't know before?
Well, I found that it was interesting that the satyrs have like different names for males and females. I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
And the muses, I never heard of them to be on like Mount Olympus.
Okay.
But they're actually with the gods, but don't have actual like names. They're just considered like the muses out of all of them.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. Very good.
I learned that the centaurs, I learned their story of origin, which that's always fun.
Yep.
And then I learned that centaurs can't handle their wine very well.
Again, like with the satyrs, these guys could get a little rowdy, shall we say? And you talk about learning their origin. I mean, how many origin stories of Spider-Man do we have? Good grief! How many Spider-Man movies that talk about the origin, or Batman, or whatever? And so it is interesting sometimes to go back and find these things. So, in terms of back up, just kind of the overall level of these groups for a moment. Had you even heard of any of these groups before?
I've heard of some of them through like Hercules.
Okay.
And I've seen centaurs in Harry Potter.
I see centaurs in Harry Potter, sure.
I've heard some of them in Percy Jackson.
And Percy Jackson, likewise. Both of those, obviously, the Percy Jackson draws so heavily on the mythology, and a lot of that feeds into the Harry Potter series as well. Were there any groups, again, thinking at the group level, any groups that you had never encountered before, said, wow, I didn't even know these creatures existed?
The muses are the ones that
Okay.
I've never heard of before.
Okay, very good.
Furies were the ones I've like never heard of before.
And the Furies for you. I got to tell you, this is a great episode. I really wish we could go even deeper. Hopefully this will inspire some people to do a little bit of research, look some more of this stuff up. So Elle and Gigi, thank you so much for being on the show. We were glad to have you.
Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GuerinJCL. That's at GuerinJCL.